everyone. Sorry for such a hiatus. I'm back and I'm happy to be here. My hiatus was like, I don't know, 3-4 days long. Beside the point, I wanted to talk about today about beauty practices and how, and this notion that people engage in beauty practices for themselves. I think that when you talk about more like controversial things on the internet, or when you're kind of like a little bit critical of our society, or you're addressing these sort of like social norms and with a more critical lens, you obviously kind of make yourself a target for people's own feelings about how they believe society should be set up, or people who want to protect the social norm, and people who might just get a little bit frustrated at some of the things that you say. I felt this actually at a very recent example yesterday. I posted a video about age gap relationships and a particular couple that the world really likes right now, who may or may not be on one of the biggest reality television shows of the summer, or the biggest. I made a video critical of the age gap in that relationship, and I was getting roasted atop a flame. It was getting quite ugly for your girl. And it kind of made me forget. It's something I have a running list of in the back of my mind as someone who makes a lot of content online, that of the sort of things you can talk about with like relative, I don't want to say ease, but like you'll come up against less friction than some other subjects or some other things that if you bring them up, you kind of just have to be prepared for what you're going to meet in your comment section. And I forgot that age gaps were one of those things. And it depends when you're a content creator that there's certain things that you might be willing to weather the storm of the pushback people will give you, and there's certain things that you're not willing. And this preamble is worth something. I'm arriving at a point, I promise. But there's certain things that you could be okay with, and certain things that you're not. When I talk about beauty, and I'm very critical of beauty practices, and I'm very critical of women's investment in beauty practices and adherence to beauty practices, and the sort of justification for them, the certain thought process and relationship that people have with beauty and beauty practices, I get a lot of pushback. It's one of those things that is very, it's not an easy, simple thing to talk about. If I got on the internet sharing my matcha recipe, I would probably get a lot less pushback. But this is something I talk about because it's really important to me, and it's one of those things like age gap relationships. I think it's important to discuss. I think that there's a lot of people that are falling victim to really dysfunctional, unhealthy ideas, and maybe one day I think it's something I might be more comfortable talking about on YouTube, because I think here I can allow myself the time to get into something in the way that I think is necessary. Then it's harder to do that on YouTube or on TikTok. But it's something that I'm like, it's not worth getting beat in my comment section. Like I ultimately took my video down because I was just like, it's literally, it's not that my opinion has changed. It's that I don't feel the need. I don't have the capacity. I do a lot of things online and in my real life. I don't have the capacity to like deal with this in my comment section right now. And so I took that video down. But this is one thing that like, this is a place where I've stuck my pole in the sand, and I've said that I'm not gonna let this go, because it's really frustrating to me how much we are told all the time as women and girls that beauty practices are incredibly important, that they are fundamental, they are paramount to our well-being, to our success, to our acceptance in the world, that they're incredibly significant, but we're not allowed to talk about, but we have to present our adherence to these beauty standards as if they're self-originating. Specifically, I've been honing in on this notion of like, I engage in a beauty practice for me. I used to be very critical and say, I don't think that women wear makeup for themselves. I don't think women get plastic surgery for themselves. I don't think women lose unnecessary weight. I'm not talking about if you're super morbidly obese and you have to do it because like your health is deteriorating. I'm talking about losing an extra 5-10 pounds that you don't need to have. That it's like solely for aesthetic reasons. When I zoom in on these things, I'm like, I don't think that we as women engage in these beauty practices for ourselves. And of course I get an incredible amount of pushback, and I get people swearing up and down that they shave their legs for themselves and they wear makeup for themselves, and if they were on a deserted island they would still be doing all of these things and whatever. And I've been very critical of that, because I think it's really insidious on behalf of the patriarchy that we are sold as young girls this fixation on beauty, right? I wrote an essay on this, and I was specifically talking about the fact that I was it's a silly example, but I was like, I was taught how to remove my body hair. I was taught about how to shave my bush before I was ever taught how to identify UTI. The first time I ever got a UTI, I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know why I was having so much discomfort using the bathroom. I didn't understand why there was blood in my pee. I was very like thrown off by this. I was in, I want to say the 6th grade. I was very thrown off by this, and it's something I felt really uncomfortable and a lot of shame over. And it was something that I had a difficult time bringing to my mom and saying like something weird is happening with my body. It was something that like I didn't really know how to discuss, or I felt weird discussing. But that same year, I had so much comfort going to my mother saying, I want to start shaving my body. I want to start shaving the hair the hair that I have growing. I want to get makeup. I want to get this and that. I want to go to the store and buy me these body mists and buy me these products and whatever, you know, person that I'm watching online is telling me that I need to go buy these things, you know, go take me to the store and buy them, whatever, and spend your the little time that you have off from work and the little you know, disposable income that you have to work with to buy me these products so that I can engage in the rite of passage that is beauty practices as a girl. I didn't have any discomfort talking about that. I didn't have any discomfort feeling like going to my mother and asking her to facilitate me in the process of becoming more beautiful and of changing these parts of my body that were, you know, naturally normal and that were growing and whatever. And it's so weird to me, right, that we don't teach women, don't teach girls like another way of engaging with their body. Like we say that beauty is the most important thing. It is the thing that is most worth their efforts. You know, I feel like a lot of women have that example of you go to a family party after not seeing some certain family members in a while, and they're commenting on your weight gain, or they're commenting on your weight loss, or they're commenting on your hair, or your skin, or you're even being witness to conversations about that are being had about other people, hearing people talk about other family members or other friends' bodies and weight gain and weight loss or whatever, and recognizing these are conversations that are being had about you when you're not there, and that your value, your goodness is so tied to like what are these conversations that are being had about you. Like, are they speaking positively about what your body looks like now, or negatively, or are they saying that you've let yourself go, or are they saying that you're not taking care of yourself, or whatever it is, right? These conversations are happening all the time, and we're so punished as women if we're not pretty. We're so punished if we're not beautiful. And some, I mean, I think like you get people who try to approach it in potentially a way that they think is nicer by like, I don't know, I think I remember having conversations with friends like in middle school, getting offered like unsolicited diet advice that was like, you know, here's something that you can do to help you lose that stubborn belly fat. Here's a YouTube ab workout tutorial that I've been following along that's been helping me and whatever. It might be coming from a good place, but still fundamentally it's this understanding that like beauty is an incredibly important thing for women to negotiate with, for women to aspire towards, and that women who don't have it are under serious stress and need to, you know, do something expeditiously about that problem. And so it's so weird to me that we just like live in this world where like so much of becoming a girl is about learning how to become beautiful, learning how to engage in these beauty practices. Like I was so excited to shave for the first time, and I got into my one-piece swimsuit in my bathtub, also, yeah, like the 6th grade, and I asked my sister, who's 9 years older than me, to come into the bathroom with me and show me how to shave. And I thought it was so fun, and I shaved my whole body, and I was religious about shaving for several years because it just made me feel so feminine and pretty. Like, how do we live in a world where that's the reality for female adolescents, yet we still somehow want to go around and parrot this idea that beauty practices are self-originating, that you do them for yourself, that they have nothing to do with our external reality? How does that work? How does it work when the only women that are celebrated are beautiful women? Like, that makes zero sense to me. And sometimes when I bring this up, you know, I get people saying, well, every decision that people make is performative. Every decision that people make, you don't do for yourself, really. Like, we live in a society. We live in a society, and we're social creatures as humans, and blah, 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 and so everything you do is for other people. Cool. That's not, like, the conversation that's being had, though. Sometimes I feel like that's, like, a cop-out response to me, where I'm like, I think there really is a conviction, a genuine conviction that a lot of women harbor that's like, no, like, I truly do this without any care or attention for how it's making me be perceived. And so I kind of got to a point where like I just stopped talking about beauty like that. Like I stopped saying, no, I don't think women are engaging in beauty practice for themselves. Like I stopped saying that because I realized I was getting a lot of like, I think people approach you first with anger or like the feeling of I need to like defend myself. Because also it's embarrassing to have to think about yourself as an insecure person. Like no one wants to have to like come into contact with their own insecurity. And I also think that like men for a long time have made fun of women for their adherence to beauty practices. And so I think there's an element of like, you don't want to let them win. You don't want to admit that maybe like that validation, that approval seeking has played a role in the way that you engage with yourself. And so I stopped framing this conversation like that and really just started talking about my own experience and saying that I, for not a day in my life, have ever put makeup on my body or changed my, like grew my hair out. I've been having a midlife crisis with my hair. Sorry, I don't know if you heard a yell in the back. Everything's fine. I think we just have a baby that we're watching at the house. I think she's just getting fussy with my mom. I lost my train of thought. I've never, like, when I used to be bald, I loved being bald, and like I feel like for me, hair and my relationship with my hair was so like, it made me feel so like, I feel like for me, like my attachment to beauty was at its peak with my hair. You know what I mean? Like I would grow my hair out, and maybe one day I'll literally talk like just about being bald because it was so transformative to the way that I move through the world. But I felt so like the hair, like having hair is what makes me feel pretty, and I can be overweight, I can have a bad outfit, I can have like whatever other part of my body that may not be perfect, but like if I have my hair, then I have like the thing that can make me feel like pretty and comfortable. And so I was very happy being bald because I felt like it was the first time that I got to like move away from like an attachment to needing to make my hair look a certain way in order to feel like accepted and validated. And so I was happy being bald, but then I became really, I just started to think too hard, I guess, about the standards that were set around me. And I know that my family wasn't really happy with me not having hair, and they were always kind of waiting for when I was going to start growing it out again and whatever. And so I think, you know, eventually I just succumbed to that pressure and I started to grow my hair out. But I never did that. Like I never did that, grew my hair out because I like felt like I did it for me. Like I did it for like the validation that if I was on a deserted island, I would be bald. For sure. For sure, I'd be bald. And so, you know, I was just like mainly talking about these things in the context of myself. I talked a lot about, not a lot, but I've been making a few more TikToks as of late about like my weight loss last year and like how much my body changed last year. I started getting braids again, so I stopped being bald like last summer, and I lost about, I want to say 60 pounds. Actually, I just didn't weigh myself at the beginning, so I'm not 100% sure. But I think that's been my best guess. 60 pounds during that year. I changed my style a lot. But I ultimately decided to change, to specifically lose weight because of the fact that I was like rapidly sizing out of my closet. And I was like, I need access to my clothes again. Like I literally just did not fit my closet anymore. And I was wearing athleisure every day because it was the most forgiving, not in the sense of how it made me look, but just in the sense that I could gain weight and it would still fit me. And so I'm a cheap person. I'm a very cheap person. I don't like spending money on myself in particular. And so I was like, I don't want, literally I looked at it as a fiscally responsible choice to just lose weight, lose like 10, 20 pounds. And because also I had no perception of like what my weight was or like what weight I needed to be in order to like generally be able to fit in my closet again. And so I made the assumption that it probably wasn't going to be that much weight that I was going to need to lose in order to fit my closet again, which was true. Started to lose weight, fit my closet, blah, blah, blah. Was feeling really good about myself. And then I kept losing weight. And the pretty much all the weight that I would say at the beginning was maybe for me, because it was an element of like, well, I just want to fit my closet again. And I really had an understanding of beauty as being fundamentally stupid and useless and a waste of my time. And I wrote a lot about that, and I made a lot of videos about that, and that was something that was a conviction that I held very strongly. And then so like I wasn't motivated by like beauty in a surface level way, I guess, in the beginning when I was losing it, and then I just kept losing. And then that's when 100% when it turned into a thing of like, this is for validation, this is for approval, this is for the support and the excitement and the enthusiasm that I have surrounding me. The way that people are celebrating me now that I'm like existing in a smaller body and I've managed to adhere myself to a diet regime quite religiously. Yeah, like that was 100% the motivation. And so like I'm very okay with saying that about myself and saying that I don't engage in certain beauty practices to this day. Like I need to get my braids redone, and it's like every time I need to redo my hair, like something existential happens within me where I'm so like, it just feels so much like making my body good enough for consumption. I can't like, I don't know, maybe if there's other Black women who feel the same way, that like your hair is just so important. And so I think it's just been making me feel very like, I hate everything and everyone and everything that's happening. But to this day, I don't do my hair a certain way because it's for me, and I don't even diet. You know, I still have to be quite aware of the things that I eat, even though at this point I'm just kind of maintaining my weight, and I'm at a perfectly healthy weight for my height. And yeah, like I don't like do any in any of these things for me. Like I do it for social acceptance. I do it also, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm very online. I am posting my face on the internet 6 times a day. I've been doing that every day for well over a year, and I'm here on my YouTube, and I'm on the Instagrams, and I'm I exist on the internet, and beauty is 100%. Oh my god, I literally just remember. You just watch me in real time. Remember a video I have to film. Beside the point. Beauty is 100% a currency on the internet, and I definitely have had fears around how much would my presence online change if I stopped engaging in certain beauty practices, if I stopped making myself look a certain way online. And it's a question that I have to have within myself all the time, and this might be a weird thing, I guess, to hear from me. But I just want to let you in, I guess, to my internal dialogue on the matter. But yeah, like I think existing in a female body is very difficult. And there's so many conversations around the correct way to be in your form, and the correct way to look, and the things that you should refrain from, and the things that you should, over-engage with, and which a lot of the time is extremely antithetical to our health and well-being, certain beauty practices, but all for the pursuit of like validation and acceptance and celebration. And I think like if we were to kind of like remove that factor and be so afraid to say like, I don't do, I do these beauty practices for me, and I promise it has nothing to do with the world. And I understand the motivation. I understand not wanting to, admit to being insecure. I understand that, but it's not productive. It's not the truth, truly. And that's I guess the cornerstone of why I think it's like not a good place to, a good idea to commit yourself to. You'd rather just be honest, At least that's the way I think about it. But that's that. I think that's everything. I don't know, it was a little bit rambly, but this is a topic I feel very strongly about, and I would just like for us to be truthful about where our feelings and motivations come from. Bye, guys!